Yeah, so I mean, I was on anabolic steroids and ran cycles for 9 years.
Do you think it's possible for people to hold on to any remains of the gains that they got from anabolic steroids the more distance they get from it?
I think if you come off completely, absolutely not. You're going to lose like everything.
Why have you chosen not to do TRT?
Just knowing that I can play that card if I want to later on.
Pete Rubish is one of those legendary powerlifters that everybody knows. And in this episode, he talks about his 9 years of PED use and then abruptly coming off and how it's affected him, his hormones, his lifts, and his life. You're going to enjoy this one. Check it out.
Huge transition, too, away from performance-enhancing drugs. And did you have some sort of moment where, like, Jesus came down and he had a conversation with you? He's like, you need to come back to the good side. You've been on the dark side for a long time. Like, what happened and what led to some of those decisions?
Yeah, so I mean, I was on anabolic steroids and ran cycles for 9 years. Started when I was 20 and then up until 29, that's when I came off. Yeah, I just done a meet. I tried a pretty big cycle. It was the biggest cycle of my life going into that meet. So the last 2 weeks, this wasn't during the whole duration of the cycle, but the last 2 weeks I was doing 1,500 milligrams of testosterone enanthate. So 1.5 grams of test, right? Very high amount. Would have been cool to see what my test levels were like at that point. And then 1,200 NPP, so 1.2 grams NPP. Nandrolone.
What's NPP? Oh, that's,
yeah, it's like the short, fast-acting version of DECA with less sides, I think. So it kicks in quicker. You don't get all the bad sides you get with DECA. Threw that in as well. And then,
Then there's got to be some orals, right? I mean,
yeah.
It's not an official cycle unless we're on 3 things at one time.
Got to get all the food groups in there.
Yeah, cover your bases. So I was doing Anavar for a while, about 50 milligrams a day. And I love Anavar. It's my favorite. That was. And then at the end, I came off that and did Halo testing because I tried to combine them. So I was trying to do Halo and Anavar at the same time, and the liver toxicity was way too much to handle. To the point like you would take it and within 30 minutes you want to throw up. Because you couldn't even, I couldn't even sit up. I'd be laying on the couch and I'd just be like, I feel awful. I feel like I'm going to vomit.
The heartburn's nice.
Oh, it's just so much. The heartburn wasn't too bad, but the blood pressure too, where your head feels like it's going to explode. Yeah, it was really healthy stuff. You know.
And let me ask you this: is that an exaggeration, or does your head actually feel pressurized?
It feels pretty pressurized. You get a headache like legitimately 30 minutes after the Halo testing. So you get the nausea because your liver is it's under serious stress. And I was taking too much. The last 2 weeks I tried to go 40 milligrams of Halo, which is an absurd dose.
Wow.
You want to do about 20. I mean, I'm not telling anybody to do that, but if you're a standard dose would be 20.
You just broke Nsima.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I'm not condoning this, but
made his gorilla mind go down the wrong pipe.
I'm not giving advice here.
Fucking lost.
You do 20 milligrams, and I'm like, let's go 40 because I really want to pull 900 officially. I've done it in training, right, a few times. I was like, I got to get it knocked out in a meet, and in the end, did I get it done? No. So I got the 904 to my knees, and that was it. But that's kind of the long backstory. And then after that, my wife was like, if we're going to have a baby, let's do it now. Come off now. So after the meet, I decided to come off November. And then, here we are. Been off for 2.5 years. So it's been a wild ride.
And at first, when you started to come off, how long did you hold on to those gains? And do you think it's possible for people to hold on to any remains of the gains that they got from anabolic steroids the more distance they get from it?
I think if you come off completely, absolutely not. You're going to lose like everything for the most part. That's not to say there's not some degree of muscle memory, but within a year, it was all gone. I mean, I went back. It felt like almost to square one, not entirely, obviously, because you've still been training a while. But I want to say bench dipped down to about 315, and it was at 485 at the peak. In training, in a meet, 463. So it went all the way back down to 315, 300-ish. Deadlift got down to like 6 from 9. And it was a rapid loss of muscle and strength over the course of months. So the first couple of months, you're still hanging on to quite a bit, even though your test levels are dipping. 6
months or so, maybe? You can kind of hold on to some stuff?
Yeah, I'd say up to 8 even. And then as you get closer to that year, it's all gone. It's like if I had gone TRT, I think I could have maintained a lot of it. Not been quite as strong, but maintained quite a bit of that strength. But it just, my body weight dipped down to about 210 at the lowest from 250, 255. And right now I'm walking around about 220, 225, depending on how well I'm eating.
Why have you chosen not to do TRT?
I think the main thing is I spent so long and I felt like I got on steroids before I needed to. where I was like, I didn't need to play that card when I did. I was still progressing. I was doing fine, where I almost wanted the challenge of being off because I never felt like I truly got that challenge. Because I got on it so early that I was like, did I ever push myself to the point I could have and see my natural abilities? And that was it initially. And then I think I got to a point where you check your testosterone levels a dozen times over 2 years and they're never above 4. And you're like, okay, it's not going to get back to that high where maybe it's not even potentially possible to push things that heavy. And I just felt good, being off. I feel good. I don't feel, my libido's not low. It's not crazy high either, but it's good. It's normal. I feel good on a daily basis. I have good energy. I sleep well. I haven't felt like I needed it. I didn't feel like my quality of life was suffering at all. So that's a big part of it. And then just knowing that I can play that card if I want to later on. I have a good doctor who's literally 2 minutes from our gym, and I can go down the street and get, I'd probably say I just want 100 a week just to start out. And that card's always there. So it hasn't been a big rush for me because I view all of this as an experiment as well. I'm constantly experimenting with my body to see how I can manipulate biomarkers or variables, what supplements I can take maybe that will shift some things around. I've experimented with tonkat leaf, Fadoja, all that kind of stuff, boron. So I just like experimenting with my body now. I like seeing what can we get things to, what can I do with it? And that's more of the draw for me now than anything. So I'm not opposed to TRT, and I'm neutral with it. It's something that I would do maybe later on, but I don't see the rush.
Huberman said, testosterone, it helps kind of makes things like difficult more enjoyable, or I forgot how he worded it.
Makes effort feel good.
Makes effort feel good. So have you noticed anything like that where it's like you kind of don't have the pep in your step to go do something difficult?
I don't think I've had too much of that, but at the same time, I mean, it's hard to say. Like when my test levels were higher, I got so used to it. I don't know how much it was helping either. It felt like things were so baseline, even on cycle for a while, because I'd been on it so long. So it's not something I necessarily struggle with, but
your workouts used to be so hard and they went on forever too,
Yeah.
right? So no matter how much testosterone on, maybe you weren't that pumped to go and deadlift. I mean, you were excited to go and test yourself, but at the same time, you're like, fuck, man, I'm in for it today.
yeah, you knew it was going to kill you. You knew it was going to be a tough session. Every session was, I'm going to kill my CNS, basically.
It probably doesn't feel that same way with a run or a pump session, right?
No, we've talked about this. If I get sick of like walking around like when I was on all that and doing those crazy max out sessions to where you constantly have nervous system fatigue and you feel run down and you can't get anything done. Your brain's foggy. And I just got sick of that feeling. And now it's kind of nice where I still go somewhat heavy, but I'm not having, I don't feel like crap all the time, more or less.
Yeah.
So, and TRT probably would enhance some things, but I'm a little worried about as I try to kind of lean out and get lighter. I feel like it would put a little weight on me, which would potentially. So that's another thing where I'm kind of trying to slim down for sleep apnea purposes, and I don't know if that would. It's a toss up, but everything's an experiment. So,
Do you know what your testosterone levels are at? How about your estrogen? How about your prolactin? How about your cholesterol? If the answer is, I don't know what they're at, well, we've been talking about blood work for a long time now. That's why we've partnered with Merrick Health, a company owned by Derek for More Plates, More Dates. Now, with Merrick, you can get yourself something called the Power Project Panel, which will give you 26 different labs that will help you understand what's going on underneath the hood. After that, you'll be able to be partnered with one of their patient care coordinators, which will give you interventions that range from lifestyle, supplements, to potential hormonal health treatments that can help move you in the right direction. But it all starts with knowing on what's going on down here. So get your blood work done. And Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, we have two options for you guys. Head over to merrickhealth.com/powerproject. That's MAREK health.com/powerproject. There you guys will see the Power Project panel that Nsima was just talking about. And at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject to save $101 off of that panel. Now, if you want to custom select your own panel, you guys can use promo code PowerProject10 to save 10% off all labs. Again, that's at merrickhealth.com/powerproject. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
Any warnings to people that are going to go because you decided not to go the TRT route? I don't think you had other interventions. A good friend of mine has said that like he thinks that if young people especially are going to come off testosterone cycles, he thinks that they should look into maybe taking medication for their mind and for their, so they don't get like depressed and stuff. Do you think that some people should look into that, or like, what was your experience?
Yeah, I mean, it was really tough mentally. I felt pretty depressed at various times because your sense of identity is gone. Think about it, your whole life, not your whole life, but the last 10, 15 years, everyone's known you as this really strong guy. You're known for your deadlift, your strength, and being jacked and all that. And that's your whole basis of what people know you for. And then that's kind of stripped away completely, where there's no more, you know, you're not getting the compliments, you're not getting all the attention. It fades away. It faded away fast. And you're just another guy at that point. And that was tough. It was like a transition to where that was probably one of the toughest things. You have to kind of come to terms with that and redefine yourself, as we talked about. But it's taken years. You know, it's been 2.5 years, and just now I'm kind of becoming comfortable with who I am now. And I still have the knowledge. I've still done what I've done, hit the numbers I've hit, and I'm at peace with that. But now it's kind of time to pivot to a new life. And I still coach plenty of guys in powerlifting. I'm still immersed in the industry, but I just have to do different things myself. So I still train some powerlifting, but it's a lot more bodybuilding. It's a lot more running, different things like that to kind of keep me sane. So it's mentally, a lot of guys, the reason they wouldn't come off is it's just very tough. You essentially shrivel up, lose all your muscle, you lose your strength, you lose your identity. And why would you do that when you can just take TRT? And I even, you know, I've considered going back on it various times. I'm not saying I wouldn't. Like, I think TRT is awesome. You know, I think it's a good thing for a lot of guys. And I have nothing against it, but I just feel decent now. So you have to almost wait. You have to get through that tough phase.
Yeah. Before you started, you said 20 to 29 you were on. What was your history before that? Were you an athlete? Were you already lifting quite a bit beforehand?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I was in school. I was doing football. I was doing basketball. I was doing track. And
athlete.
I wasn't great at any of them, but I started in various sports. And come my senior year, I decided I'm just going to lift because I did not like being in season in a sport and you lose a lot of your strength. You lose about 10 pounds of body weight from running so much. Mm-hmm. And I just enjoyed lifting more. So I went all in on that when I was about 18, entering my senior year, dropped all the sports. And but I had that background growing up. Even baseball was mixed in. It was just, my parents had me in all different sports all the time. Year round, I was doing something.
Mm. Yeah. And I'm kind of curious, kind of from what Mark said, what was the hardest part about coming off? Because like he mentioned, you were a different human being at the time. It's like your shape was different. You were still you, but I'm assuming like when you look at videos of when you were pulling and all that, do you feel like that's you?
No. I look back at that and I can't even identify with those weights. I don't know, because Mark's completely transitioned to a different stage of his life. I don't know if you feel that way, but like...
I went to a meet one time, maybe like a year ago or something like that, and somebody was lifting some crazy weight, and I look at my brother and I go, these guys are fucking out of their mind. And my brother's like, you were lifting this like 2 years ago, and you had a lot more plates on than what they even have now. So I agree with you 100%. It's like hard to even relate at a certain point.
Yeah, it doesn't seem... My mind can't comprehend like having that much weight on my back, like on a squat, like 800 pounds around there. I can't imagine it.
Fuck.
It's 900-pound deadlifts. I can't imagine that. So it's completely different now because you're lifting a fraction of that, and your mind's not there. Like, I'm not in that, you know, purely lifting as heavy as possible, aggression, you know, kind of kill mode, which is how it was. It was my whole life. Lifting was my entire life. Everything else got cast aside for many of those years because that's what it took to get to that level. I felt like you had to go all in. There were a lot of sacrifices. There were a lot of disruptions. Relationships were more volatile. But that was part of the cost to get to that level. And I don't necessarily regret it, but I would have done things differently. You know?
What about somebody coming to you now? You have your own gym. There's some power lifters in there. And what about someone hitting you up online or in person and saying, yeah, man, I want to go for it all, man. I'm 20. You know, I moved out of my parents' house and I want to go on a cycle and I want to go all in. Are you kind of talking them out of that, or like, how do you think you would handle that situation?
Yeah, I mean, guys come to me and their decision is made up. They're going to do it. They're going to do it or they're not. And I can kind of lead them on a path where they do it more responsibly, or where I think you'd get more out of it this way. Because if we look at like a John Hack, the very moderate dosages, cycling off, that sort of thing. He's milked his gains for more than if he were just blasting right from the beginning. So I think that's a smarter approach. I wish I would have done it that way. So I try to tell them, like, we can do this more efficiently. You don't have to go to Trend right away or something like that. But I have guys who come to me and they're like, listen, I don't have anything going for me in my life. I don't have a relationship with my parents. Like, this is all I got. I'm going for it. And I'm like, I completely respect it. I get it. Like, this is their life, and that's it. They're going for it. And who am I to tell them, like, no, you got to be more, cautious when I went just as hard. It's like, that's what they want. They're going all in. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that. So it depends on the circumstance, the context of it. But normally, yes, I try to tell guys, like, if someone comes to me 18 years old, which happens, and they're like, I'm ready to jump on. Like, just wait a little bit. You haven't even optimized your training yet. Like, give it even 2 years. Wait till you're 20. Things like that. Or just let's start out with a very moderate test dose. So I try to steer people properly rather than, I can't convince someone not to do it. If I tell an 18-year-old and he's completely convinced, it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
So I try to share my experiences and be very open. But I feel like that almost helps people more when you're like, this is how you need to do it responsibly. Maybe wait a little longer. Cross that road, down the line.
Now, if you enjoyed this, you need to go check out this episode with Pete Rubish that we recently did. It was really good. It was really awesome. And you should go there right now. So click it. You'll enjoy yourself. Are you still watching to see what I'm going to say?